Hi, Mayor Robert Schaefer here. Due to the coronavirus, the City of Summersville is happy to bring interviews of candidates for our upcoming election. A couple important things to note. Primary Election Day has been moved to June 9th. Our County Clerk, Bobby Painter, along with your Secretary of State, Mac Warner, both highly encourage all voters to vote absentee this year. To facilitate your doing so, every voter will be mailed a postcard, which is your absentee ballot application. Simply fill the card out, return it to the courthouse, and you will be mailed your ballot. In the event you decide not to vote absentee, at a later date, voting dates and times will be announced. All precincts will be open on Election Day. A special thanks to Jason Eads for organizing this opportunity on behalf of the City of Summersville. Thank you to Marianne Taylor for doing the interviews, and Barney Benito, our videographer and manager of Summersville TV station. On behalf of the city, I encourage all to continue to adhere to the guidelines that have been issued and ordered by our Governor, Jim Justice. With the stay-at-home order still in effect, I encourage and remind you to wash your hands regularly, 20 seconds at a time. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Avoid close contact with anyone. 6 feet is the acceptable distance for social distancing. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or your mouth. All involved in our interview process have been screened, as well as following all other guidelines.
Thank you for joining us today. These are difficult and unusual times in our country and the world around us. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we are navigating in uncharted waters. As citizens of this great nation, we must stick together and follow the necessary precautions to overcome this disease. We are grateful to all of our healthcare providers, our first responders, and all those providing essential services. And to the leaders of our country and state government, thank you for your guidance and updates as we fight this war against the coronavirus. As West Virginians prepare to vote on June the 9th, we will not have the pleasure of a visit from a candidate or an invitation to a Meet the Candidate night. We must find different ways to meet the candidates, to understand their platforms, and to gather the information needed to exercise our right to vote. To help the citizens of Nicholas County meet the candidates without gathering, the City of Summersville and SCTV invite all of you to sit in your living rooms and watch and listen to a conversation with a candidate. I'm Marianne Taylor, Executive Director of the Summersville Arena and Conference Center, and it is my pleasure to participate in the interview process of these candidates. Candidates were sent an invitation to participate in conversation with a candidate. If they chose to participate, an interview was scheduled, and they also completed a wellness screening in accordance to the precautionary criteria for COVID-19. These interviews are being filmed over a 3-day period. West Virginia House of Delegates District 44 includes Webster County and part of Nicholas, Randolph, and Upshur counties. Candidates for this seat for a 2-year term include Democrat Robin Cutlip and Republican incumbent Caleb Hanna. With us this morning is Caleb Hanna. So thank you for joining us today. And you may now begin your opening statement.
As Marianne said, my name's Caleb Hanna, and I'm the current delegate for District 44, which is half of Nicholas, all of Webster, and portions of Upshur and Randolph. I've lived in West Virginia my entire life. It's been a goal of mine to somehow help and serve the mountain state that we call home. That's why as delegate, I've fought for better roads, better schools, improving our state's foster care system, and trying to provide more for our state's seniors. But we're not done. I still believe there's more we can do. The American dream is getting harder to find. Opportunities are tougher to come by. And that simple idea of by working hard and doing the right thing you can provide for your family, it's really just not so simple anymore. And to steal a line from JFK, these are challenges that I'm willing to accept, ones that I'm not willing to postpone, and ones that we together can win. And that's why I'm asking for your support for House of Delegates. When I ran in 2018, I ran on 3 principles: God, guns, and babies. And those are principles that guide me today and will continue to guide me. I believe God that should come first and foremost in every policy decision I should make. I believe that guns are a fundamental right of every citizen in West Virginia and across this nation. And I believe that we need to stand up and be the voice for the unborn, for those that can't speak for themselves. Those are issues that I care about, and that's why I'm asking for your support in the 2020 election.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll now begin the question and answer session. Your first question: why do you want this job, and what qualifications do you bring to this position?
I was never raised in a political home. My father was a coal miner, and he got laid off the second term of the Obama administration, and that really hit my family hard. That's when I first realized that we needed to do something in West Virginia. That's when I first started following government. And as I progressed through school, I graduated from Richwood High School in 2018. I realized that West Virginia's biggest export isn't coal, it isn't timber. It's our students, it's our future. As I watched my friends in high school either stay here to find work or go off to college or somewhere that they say was to find something better or more opportunity, I realized that we really had 2 options as young people in West Virginia, and that's to try to find something that some would say is better, or to stay here and fight. And I chose to stay here and fight and try to create a better life, not just for those that want to stay here in West Virginia, but those that are already here. One of the most important things, I think, is to make West Virginia the best place to live and to work and to raise a family. As for my qualifications, I think that really depends on how people put that as to who is qualified and who isn't. I'm not going to sit here and brag on myself and say that I'm the sharpest tool in the shed, because that couldn't be farther from the truth. But I will tell you that I give 100% in anything that I do. And I would say more than anything, my biggest qualification would be my Christian faith. It wouldn't just be me leading District 44. I would have the guidance of the Lord as well.
Okay, thank you for that. Second question: if elected, what are your 3 biggest priorities for next year?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if this would really count as one singular priority, but I think that we need to make a better way of life in West Virginia. Just make life easier, whether that be something simple like eliminating the state inspection sticker, because I truly believe that we shouldn't make your cars be roadworthy until our roads are worthy of your cars. Or just, reducing the tax on gasoline. But also another huge priority for me would be increasing our broadband connectivity to promote business in West Virginia, to attract people to come here, whether that be Amazon or Uber or tech companies like that. They look for those things, better broadband connectivity, and I think our citizens look for those things as well. They'd like to have faster internet speeds. As a third thing, I really think that we've got to do better for our roads. I mean, I'm not saying that we need to continue seeing all these cones on the highway. It's our secondary and tertiary roads that really need the attention.
Thank you. Next question. Do you see the passage of the medical marijuana bill as a positive step in the fight against the opioid addiction?
You know, that's a really good question. I particularly don't have a problem with medical marijuana. I think that the particular piece of legislation would have a lot to do with it because, you know, no piece of legislation is perfect. There's always something that someone tries to stick in there. But I do believe it would. Right now, you know, the drug problem is worse than many other states in the country in West Virginia. And we've got to do something to fight back. I think that prescribing medical marijuana would be a lot better than prescribing some of these hard opioids that we are prescribing right now.
Next question. Do you support the legalization of recreational marijuana? Why or why not?
I'll be honest with you, it's not something I've really given a lot of thought to on recreational marijuana. But it's also not something that I think I would be completely opposed to. I really just don't know enough about it to make a fully comprehensive decision, but I would definitely be willing to come to the table and discuss it.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What would you like to see the state government do to help the citizens of West Virginia to recover once the restrictions are lifted from the coronavirus?
Yeah, I think this is a time that's unprecedented to all of us. It's not something that we were prepared for. It's not something I think that's happened in the last little bit here, so it's not something we've ever experienced in probably our lifetime. But once we get back on our feet, I think what we should really do is urge the governor to set up a special task force with DHHR for disease and prevention. Just so that way we have more than one person than just the executive or the governor making decisions. I think that closing businesses and things like that were good calls in this situation. But I also want to, stress to the people of West Virginia that we need to be cautious in what we allow our government to do. And I think it would be good to reflect back on this situation afterwards and really ask ourselves as citizens of how much power does the state government really have?
Okay, thank you. And the last question. What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment within West Virginia, particularly in Nicholas County?
I think that one thing is strong in Nicholas County is our timber industry. We have to do more for our workers in timber. I know we lost a sawmill over in Richwood, Collins. It's closing down little by little, but luckily we still have Laurel Creek Hardwoods, and the people that own Laurel Creek Hardwoods are great people, and they're really keeping that thing going. But what we need to do is find a way to eliminate the business and inventory tax in West Virginia. Those taxes are killing our local businesses because every piece of inventory they keep there is taxed. But at the same time, we have to find a way to make our counties whole because that money comes back into our county commissions, and we have got to find a way to make our counties whole. And when we tried to do this last session, we weren't successful just because we couldn't come to a consensus on how we would make our counties whole. And my biggest suggestion is that we could increase business, and we could also try to combat our drug epidemic at the same time by reducing the county's jail bills. So the state would foot a little bit on the county's jail bills to give them some more money to spend here on what a county thought would be best for their opioid addictions within the county. But I think that the business and inventory tax is a huge burden to our, not just the timber industry, but small businesses all around Nicholas County.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our question and answer session, and you will now have 3 minutes for your closing statement.
Yeah, thank you. But first off, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and just listening to this interview, and I also want to thank Mary Ann for having me today. I know that these times are unprecedented and that we don't have a whole lot of options now as candidates to get out and connect with you guys. So this is a great experience. But I'll kind of go back to my opening remarks of I stand for three things. That's God, guns, and babies. Those are issues that have always guided me. Those are issues that will continue to guide me, and those are issues that I won't stray from. I think that the major problem with our government today, and you see this in Washington, D.C., but it's getting just as bad here in Charleston, is that our policymakers aren't relying on guidance from the Lord anymore. We've taken God out of almost everything within our government, and I think that's why we see some of the problems we have now. Last session, I helped co-sponsor and help try to support a bill that would introduce Bible classes into our public schools. Fortunately, that was successful, so now our counties do have the option to put Bible classes in their schools. I supported the Born Alive Act. I was a co-sponsor on the Born Alive Act, which says that if a baby is born during an abortion, we have to render the same medical attention we would to a live baby. That's basically saying that we can't kill a baby if it's born during an abortion. The fact that we even had to write that law is ridiculous. I also was a co-sponsor for Campus Carry to allow college students to have the right to defend themselves on state institutions, at state institutions. I'm a college student right now at West Virginia State University, and I believe that my rights do not end when I step on that campus. So those are three things that guide me. Those are three things that will continue to guide me. And I hope to work with you guys to make effective policy. So you can find me at Hannah for WV at AOL.com. That's HANNAFORWV at AOL.com. Or reach out to me on Facebook. So thank you again for having me today, and I really appreciate this opportunity.
So again, that is Republican incumbent candidate Caleb Hanna for West Virginia House of Delegates, District 44. And again, thank you so much for being here, and best of luck on your campaign.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Our next candidate for West Virginia House of Delegates, District 44, is Democrat Robin Cutlip. Robin, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
And you will now have 3 minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you. My name is Robin Cutlip. I am a public school teacher at Webster County High School. I've been a teacher for the past 12 years. I have a wonderful husband, 3 wonderful sons, and 3 of the cutest grandbabies you would ever meet. I had never wanted to be a politician, but I guess here I am. I've always wanted to be a teacher. I decided to run for office during the last teacher strike when I realized that teachers, school service personnel, and our students were not having our voices heard. Every day I stood outside of the Capitol doors, every single day among thousands of fellow teachers and school service personnel, trying and hoping that our stories and what we cared about would be listened to. But after the first strike, we realized that we were not getting anywhere. The second strike came around, and I realized it was time for me to run for office. I knew that in order for our voices to be heard, we needed more teachers inside of those doors instead of standing on the outside. So I've always told my students, when you have an issue, you need to stand up for each other. You need to fight for one another. So I have decided to run for office so that I can fight for my students, my fellow teachers, and our school service personnel, and for everyone in the state of West Virginia.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. Your first question: why do you want this job, and what qualifications do you bring to this position?
Well, I want this job. It's simple, because I want to stand up for the people of West Virginia. I believe that far too long that the normal, hardworking, everyday people are not having their voices heard. I do not believe that when they go to the Capitol, they feel welcome. I know that several of teachers, we did not feel welcome. We felt like we were, walking into strange land, and that building is owned by us. So I want to take this job so that I can be a voice for everyone in West Virginia. I feel like I bring a lot to the table because I am a public school teacher. Every day I deal with different issues across the board. I have to figure out what to do with the fly of my, the seat of my pants. I'm very outspoken, so I believe that I will be able to be a voice for everyone that needs that extra person to stand up for them.
Okay, thank you. Next question. If elected, what are your 3 biggest priorities for next year?
The first thing that I definitely want to tackle is helping public education. Of course, I am a teacher. I feel like our students are falling through the cracks. We have so many students that are not even living with their parents now. We have 7,000 students that are considered homeless, 10,000 are in the foster care system. And it all comes back to, a lot of it's to the drug addiction crisis that our state is facing. Our students come to school every day. Some of them do not know where they'll end up when they go home. I've seen so many students come to school with a black trash bag full of their belongings. And at the end of the day, they have no idea where they'll be. I have seen so many of my students become seniors, turn 18, and either drop out of school or have to find a home to live in because they age out of the foster care system. So the first thing that I really want to tackle is to get with legislatures and figure out a way that we can find more funding to offer our staff, that includes our teachers and our school service personnel, more trauma-informed training. We have to reach these students before they become adults. We have to figure out what is happening to them on a personal level. Our students need to be able to feel safe at school. They need to be able to feel safe at home. And until we figure out what is happening to these kids, then they're just going to fall through the cracks. And that is going to continue to lead into the drug addiction crisis, which I also want to help tackle that in some way, shape, or form. No one wants to be a drug addict. No one wakes up and says, I'm going to be a drug addict when I grow up. It happens because something has happened to them. I feel like until we reach out to those people and find out why they are suffering, then we're never going to be able to end this hopelessness that our state is facing. I think that we need to have more drug crisis centers in every county, not just in 2 or 3 counties of the state. We need to have more access to students so that they can reach out and get the help that they need. When they do graduate high school, we need to have these drug centers available to them. We need to have drug courts available to where they're not just getting sent off. It's all about reaching out a helping hand. Until we reach out and pull these people out of their hopelessness, we're never going to succeed. Our state is going to continue to lose population, and we're going to continue to suffer. And I want to be a delegate that is a delegate for the people, because I am one of these people. I see this hopelessness every day when I look at my students' faces. So I know that we can do more than what we are doing. So by providing trauma-informed counselors in every school, trauma-informed training to all of our educators, and reaching in and figuring out what the drug crisis, why it's happening, is going to be 3 of my top priorities. I also want to make sure that PEIA gets looked at again, because as we all know, that was the reason that the teachers walked out the first time, was because of PEIA. We have over 200,000 people in this state that use that insurance. It's not just teachers. It is anyone that's a state employee. We were promised that it would get looked at, that there would be a PEIA task force. That has not happened. So day one, those are the main things that I want to tackle. I want to be a voice for every single person in this state. And I believe that starting with our youth is the only way that our state will prosper.
Well, thank you. Next question. Do you see the passage of the medical marijuana bill as a positive step in the fight against the opioid addiction?
Yes, I do. I do believe that passing the medical marijuana bill will help so many people. Again, we have so many people struggling in this state. We have veterans that have PTSD. We have our first responders, our law enforcers, our 911. They are suffering from PTSD every day. We have people who are dying of cancer in this state. They cannot afford the drugs, or that the drugs are not even helping. By passing the medical marijuana bill, people will be able to afford medicine, natural medicine, to be able to help themselves. We will also be able to clear out the jail system a whole lot more by passing medical marijuana. People will not have to be getting it illegally. People will be able to help themselves, and that's what this state has always been about. People being strong, knowing what they need to be able to better their own lives, and by allowing them to use medical marijuana is just one step in the right direction for our state.
Thank you. Next question. Do you support the legalization of recreational marijuana? Why or why not?
I'm not a huge fan of the recreational marijuana. I do believe that medical marijuana and homegrown is the first step that we need to take in the state. With homegrown, people who can't even afford the little card to go to one of the centers will be able to grow a small amount for themselves to be able to aid themselves in any pain or any issue that they might have. Recreational scares me a little bit. Again, I am a teacher. I do not want to see my students have it so easy to get to. Cigarette smoking, the vaping, it's so easy for them to get that stuff. I believe that if it's recreational use, then we may see more students using. I'm really not for sure about that. My biggest concern is getting the medical and homegrown passed, and then I would like to read up more on the recreational and see if it would affect younger people in our state.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What would you like to see the state government do to help the citizens of West Virginia to recover once the restrictions are lifted from the coronavirus?
Oh, this has been such an awful issue here lately. My heart goes out to anyone who is isolated and cannot see their children or their grandchildren or spouses that are separated. It's a shame. We definitely need to allow more. We need to be prepared. We need to have more our medical stockpile ready. We need to be able to reach people in their homes. We need to be able to feed our children when our schools are closed. So by being able to be more prepared is really what we need to do. We need to be able to open up the parks, continue to allow fishing for free, a hunting license this fall for free, get people back out in the open, get people gathering together again, but we need to be prepared. Teachers and school service personnel came together so quick and was able within days to be able to put a plan together to feed our students. This is something that we should not have to do, but unfortunately in this state and so many other states, we have to do that. We need to have food banks stocked. We need to be prepared for a crisis. But in order to let everybody feel comfortable and to some relief when this is all over, I definitely think opening up, if you're a West Virginia citizen, it would be great if our parks would offer free camping, our lakes would be able to offer some free camping, just to get people back out and living again.
Okay, thank you. And the last question. What policy changes or investments are necessary to encourage broader employment within West Virginia, particularly in Nicholas County?
Definitely we need to raise the pay for our teachers, not just in Nicholas County, but all across the state. We also need to be, if we want to attract good quality teachers, then they need to receive a pay that they can live on. We also need to open up tourism. We need to have people to feel more welcome, especially in Nicholas County. Right through here, we have the best highway that there is to go to any other state. So about having more tourist attractions would be wonderful. Our broadband needs to be expanded because no one wants to move here if they cannot get Wi-Fi service. It's just the way it is. We also need to cater to small businesses. We have so many that are popping up around here. Richwood is doing amazing with their small businesses. We need to offer them some more than what we do The taxes that they face are tremendous. Their inventory tax is crazy that they have to keep up with. We also need to be able to give them more incentives to want to come here, and that would be doing away with that inventory tax, helping them through the nightmare of paperwork to open a business. But just to keep our state and our county alive, we need to find a way to bring people here.
Okay, thank you very much. That ends our question and answer session, and you will now have 3 minutes for your closing statement.
Okay, thank you. As I said, my name is Robin Cutlip. I've always been an advocate and an ally for my students. Now I want to be an advocate and an ally for every single person in this state. I know that I can be the voice that the people need. I will be available to listen and to care about every single person in this state. People who need help the most are the ones that get overlooked. I will be a representative that will go out and look for those people. They will not have to come knocking on my door. I will knock on their door. I want to hear what every single citizen in this state needs to be successful. I want to be a delegate that hands out a helping hand. I do not believe that we should be pushing down our most vulnerable citizens. I believe that we should be pulling them up, and as your delegate, I will do that. I will be a voice for every single person in this state. I will fight and I will work with every one of you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And this is West Virginia House of Delegate, District 44, Democrat candidate Robin Cutlip. So thank you again for joining us today, and best of luck with your campaign.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the City of Summersville and SCTV for hosting Conversation with a Candidate, which hopefully has helped you to meet the candidates, understand their platforms, and gather the information that you need to exercise your right to vote. Some important dates for you to remember. April 24th, county clerks begin mailing absentee ballots to voters who have submitted absentee applications to county clerks. May 19th, voter registration deadline. May 27th through June 6th, early voting in person. June the 3rd, deadline to submit absentee by mail applications. These must be received by the county clerk on this date. June 8th, deadline to hand deliver absentee ballots to the county clerk's office. June the 9th, deadline to mail the absentee ballot to the county clerk. It must be postmarked by June the 9th. And June 9th, primary election day. In-person voting locations may differ from regular polling locations due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So please watch the local newspapers, TV, and social media for locations, or contact the county clerk's office. I encourage each of you to exercise your right to vote, either by delivering your absentee ballot to the county clerk's office by June the 8th, postmarking your absentee ballot to the county clerk's office by June 9th, voting in person during the early voting period of May 27th through June 6th, or vote in person at the polling locations on June 9th. Stay safe, and thank you for tuning into Conversation with a Candidate.